We create jobs and make entrepreneurial dreams come true. ACE, a nonprofit community lender, specializes in small business loans coupled with business advisory services. ACE has loaned more than $39 million, helped over 725 business owners fulfill their dreams, and ACE has helped its clients create or retain more than 6,200 jobs. These are the stories of those businesses we've helped reach success and claim their American dream.
Welcome to ACE's Best Stories. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. ACE's Best Stories focuses on entrepreneurs who've decided to step out and do their own thing. We're talking today with Kimberly Graver and Susan Smith. They are the founders of a company called eTransform. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Eric.
So first and foremost, what is eTransform?
So this is Kimberly, and I will take that question. I founded eTransform in 2011. We're a customer engagement solutions company, and what that means is we work with organizations to help them, number one, solidify their brand through customer service, and number two, build brand apostles by providing the right type of support after a customer has already purchased a product or service. The reason why Susan is here is that we recently launched a women-centric co-working center together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Very exciting. She's our chief engagement officer, and I'll let her talk a little bit more about her background. But we were in a position where we had this beautiful space.
Yeah.
And my employees were mostly telecommuting. As you know,
Yeah.
a lot of people are working from home these days. It allows to have, the family and business balance. And so,
I know. So there's a lot of traffic.
So I had this space,
Yeah.
and Susan and I and some other women that we're really close with were like, well, what do we do with this? And so we decided to open up a women-centric co-working center.
Okay. And where is it located?
It's located in Peachtree Corners, so it's 3850 Holcomb Bridge Road.
Okay.
So kind of Peachtree Corners, Norcross.
Awesome. Very nice. Very cool. And a great way to use that space. I've seen several companies who have looked at, we've got this extra space, and they either turn it into an incubator or a co-working space or try to use it in a different way. They don't want to give it up because they still need a place for employees to come in, but it allows them to do that. So let's talk. We'll talk about both. So let's talk a little bit about eTransform just a second. Just how did you come up with that idea or concept? And we're going to have a good conversation because I so believe in that kind of concept of making sure you're providing that right customer service afterwards. Yeah.
Well, I'll start out by saying I am a contractor's daughter.
Okay.
So I grew up in a household where if my dad had business, we did really well.
Right.
If he didn't, we didn't do so well.
Yeah.
And I ran as far away as possible from the entrepreneurial life. I went to college and actually wanted to be a journalist. I know.
I love that.
Yeah,
so,
right? And when I graduated, that's when print media was on a downside, and so I couldn't find a job.
Okay.
And my roommate's father had always said to me, Kimberly, why are you not in business? And I'm going to be an investigative journalist. I have this whole plan. Well, you know how life goes.
Right.
And so fast forward, I found myself working for Verizon Wireless, which formerly I actually started with Bell Atlantic Mobile.
Okay.
Grew up the corporate ladder pretty quickly, was one of their female-only directors in a world of men back when I was doing that. And after a series of life events, including my father passing away suddenly at age 56, after I moved to Atlanta 2 days later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. I got a reality check. And it took me another 3 years, but after going through a couple more experiences, I decided, you know what, I want to do this on my own. I was really fortunate in that I had phenomenal relationships with Verizon Wireless. And so when I started eTransform, I had 4 business partners, and I was able to utilize my relationships. So my very first customer was Verizon Wireless as a startup.
Oh, wow. That's
so I didn't tell you that earlier, but so we took a concept that I had started with a former employer and expanded on it, and we provided what was essentially technical support remotely for the sales team.
Okay.
So a salesperson would have an issue with a device, wouldn't know how to resolve the problem, and they would call my team, and we would walk them through device resolution.
Got it.
That's how we got started, and it's grown and merged from there.
Well, it's a great model, right? To kind of talking about how you start something. If you are with an employer, you have an idea, you can turn that into a business.
Exactly.
That's a great way to step out. And you got your first client.
And I got my first client.
Yeah. And so then how did you meet Susan?
So Susan actually was the general manager of a place that I was renting space from.
Okay.
And she was a rock star. Like, I never have seen anyone be able to, I mean,
If you're watching the video,
yes, she is. To manage so many different type of people and situations and never lose her cool. And I know I was a pain in the neck when I first started running from her. I had a lot of issues and a lot of...
You know how those redheads are.
And lo and behold, probably about a year into our relationship, I had started a think tank for women.
Okay.
And because I was so impressed with her, I said, hey, what do you think? I'm doing this think tank. Would you possibly want to join us? And that's how it started. It started with her being in my think tank.
Yeah, and you find people, people that you work with. I've done that several times, and you're like, I really like working with you, and I've got something else, and I think you would be a good fit.
Exactly.
It's a great way to do that. And so, Susan, talk to me a bit about your background.
Sure. So I started in the shared office space industry about 20 years ago.
Okay.
So I ran centers, I opened centers. I really enjoyed the platform there. It's like running your own business. You get to meet every type of industry and personalities. And what I did realize as Kimberly and I formed our idea about our female-centric co-working center was the traditional co-working environment's a bro network. Yeah. It really is. The programs are geared towards men.
Yeah.
Donut days. Women don't buy donuts for each other. No.
I may or may not bring donuts in on a regular basis to the studio, so I will take hint.
Right, so I definitely love the industry.
Yeah.
I've done consulting for the industry and decided to step out, I guess maybe about a year or so ago, and to do something different. And Kimberly approached me and said, we already bring women together. She had the think tank group, which now has turned into Sisterhood in Business. And, we're helping women and empowering them through our social network. How do we reach the masses?
Yeah.
So just through the relationship with Kimberly and the community that she's built, was it 3 people started their own business?
Yeah.
Another one took a promotion.
Oh, wow.
Another one decided to relocate, for another opportunity. So it really gave us the empowerment that we needed to step out of our comfort zone, to realize, what our purpose was, and to pursue it just vigorously.
And so, as a bro,
yes, you are one.
Right. Talk to me about give me an idea or an example of maybe programming that's different. Like, what is it that you would do or approach differently than might be in a typical environment?
Well, what I found was, and this is, studies definitely support it, that is when a female worker or entrepreneur is in a male-dominated environment, their cortisol levels increase, which that's their stress hormone, right? So they're not going to speak up. They're not going to put their hand, up and, offer advice unless they're 100% certain. And, typically women will not apply for a job or go after a contract unless they know 100%, that they have the ability to complete it. Where a man's just going to say, yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'm the one for it.
So I have to be 100% qualified before I do it, where a guy might say, I'm about 50%.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay. It's funny. I owned a research company for a long time, and we did work where we would talk to males versus females, and we would ask them if they were beginner, intermediate, or advanced. And men would almost always say they were intermediate or advanced, and women almost always said that they were beginner or intermediate, even if the opposite was the truth, right? It was just sort of programming, right? So giving them the confidence, like, enough of it, right, to get to the next level.
Right. So that's really the type of program and environment that we have created with eTransform Co-working. So not only are we supporting the women with the office space that they need, meeting rooms to get jobs done, to get out of the house and have a desk, that's dedicated to them. So they've got the business coaching, they've got the mentors, they've got all the resources that they need to run their business, but they also have an opportunity to work on the wellness side.
Yeah. Okay.
So in addition to the professional side, there's the personal side to help you recharge. So Kimberly's been able to put together a great group of women that not only provide spa services, nail services, esthetician, therapy services, meditation. Mm-hmm. So it gives them an opportunity to say, you know what, I do need to take care of myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
Kim always says, we're mothers, we're daughters, we're everything to everyone else. When are we taking the time to give back to ourselves? And if you can do that on a personal level, then your professional business will definitely follow and thrive.
So you're telling me that the services that at this co-working space might include things like massages and things?
Yes, how cool is that?
Well,
so you've had a long, rough
guy
day.
Thing too. I need a place that has like a haircut guy there. So I never have time.
Right.
It's like rushing out. But yeah, that's a great idea. That's kind of connecting what you see companies doing from a benefit perspective, right? Some of the, specifically a lot of what we hear on the West Coast, everything's under one shop. You don't have to worry about going out and putting it into a co-working space.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. So talk to me about putting that together. So everything's
happened really naturally, Eric. It's kind of crazy, but that's how it's been. I had met a student at Paul Mitchell, and she was getting her esthetician license, and Susan mentioned our sisterhood and business group. We started having her come in once a month and putting on spa day at our center. Yeah. We're like, wow, this is so cool. We would turn the lights down, we'd have candles, we had the right music going, and everybody absolutely loved it. And so it was really easy when we launched the co-working center to say, we need this in the co-working center. Yeah. And so not only were we able to provide those services, but we're launching a woman's career as well in spa. So once again, it's like really cool. Okay. And then we have a gentleman that we've done meditation with, and same thing. We brought him in through Sisterhood and Business. He's like, oh, I love what you guys are doing. How can I be more involved? And so that's how it's been. People come see the center, they meet our community, and they want to know how they can contribute.
Very nice.
And so we just weave them in.
Yeah, and I like that idea of launching somebody else's business. Like the other day, we were headed to the airport and had a choice of going down and parking at the parking deck or taking a car service. And I'm like, if I take a car service, I pay somebody to go down there.
Absolutely.
We're giving them a job. Yeah. If you're in that small business entrepreneurial space, you should think that way. Like, how do I do something that helps to move somebody else's business along? So how long has the center been open?
Oh gosh, 3.5 weeks. Right?
Oh wow!
Yeah, we're
You're
brand
like
new.
Really new.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that.
It's very exciting.
Yeah. So, and were you able? You carved out a space and then just turned it into this, So
basically, what we did is we took the existing center and made some adjustments to it so that it would work for collaboration, etc. And I mean, it's really cool. It's got a phenomenal environment. The colors are perfect. The lighting is perfect. Susan's has some background in furniture, so she's helped us, assemble just a space that is comfortable. It helps you be really focused, and then at the same time collaborative.
Yeah, I like that. And and having that kind of background with what you've done in other centers, you have to know how to go through and do build outs and make things work that way. Interviewed an architect talking about the different types of environments you need to have to make things work. So now the challenges are the challenges marketing, but has that really been a challenge? Have you guys just been oversubscribed? Like, how's that worked?
It has been a challenge. The co-working industry is wildly successful.
Yes.
And you can see the valuations with companies like WeWork and Regis, and they're just now spinning off different niches. So you've got catering companies, freelance artists, and there's only a few of the female co-working specific locations throughout the world. There's 29 throughout the world, and we're one of 2 here in Atlanta. So reaching that audience and educating the audience as well. We're in the process of creating sponsorship opportunities, which are going to allow us to really have a dynamic website and a marketing campaign, so we can make sure that we reach the female entrepreneurs and business owners that really are going to benefit from the community and from the resources that we have. So we've had an opportunity to be on this platform, which is great. We were on Business Radio X with Tiffany Crummins, and Kimberly's been interviewed by the Gwinnett Citizen. So, day by day, week by week, we're spreading the word out there. So anybody on the call, if you know someone that could benefit from this, we'd love for you sharing our information.
Yeah, and so I want to talk a little bit when we get back from the break about that concept of niches, because that's a really important one for businesses in general. So we're going to go to a commercial break. You're listening to Ace's Best Stories. We're talking with Kimberly Graber and Susan Smith. They're the founders of eTransform Co-working Space. Yes, Co-working Space. We'll be back in just a minute. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw.
If it wasn't for ACE, my business may have closed in 1 year.
If it wasn't for ACE, my business wouldn't be expanded as much as it's expanding right now. They were there for me at the time of my need.
If it wasn't for ACE, we would not be here today.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for ACE, I would very much still be cooking at an hourly rate, and I would have never impacted hundreds of lives and an entire community.
I still remember going to different kind of banks, big banks, and with papers, and these people send me back because I don't have, I had experience in the restaurant business, but I don't have, everything else this bank needed, and I believe in me.
I did the research in Adult Day. I had experienced it personally because my grandfather had Alzheimer's, so I wanted to do the business myself. Get into it because I knew I could make a difference.
Initially, when we started, there was only one person, which would be me. And then the company I've grown from 1% to 8, and we provide quality assurance, quality control testing for FDA-regulated companies.
I think Grace not only completely understands what it's like to start off in an office connected to your laundry room or wherever she was, but she also understands the growth process, and I think that she does an excellent job of making sure that everybody who works with ACE has an understanding of the kind of struggles and celebrations that you can have.
ACE has helped us with putting our business idea into the market, working with us with the business, actually working, actually showing us, guiding me personally, how to solve some of my marketing issue problems or with the business planning.
You don't meet many lenders that are invested in your success. And, from their classes or presentations, seminars, they really do have a vested interest in your success.
The best advice I can do to small business owners is follow your dreams, Always follow your dreams, follow your heart.
Have a plan. Just because you have a passion for it doesn't mean that you can start a good business.
Get ready for the ride of your life, and definitely make sure that you look out for fantastic resources like ACE.
ACE is a way to go.
You're just the best. They really are.
And we're back. You're listening to Ace's Best Stories. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw, joined today by Kimberly Graber and Susan Smith. They're the founders of eTransform Coworking Space.
Correct.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And it's specifically focused on women.
That is correct
That
as
is
well.
correct.
Yes.
Which is an awesome. We were talking a little bit before we went into the break about the concept of niche, right? And we're seeing that happen in both technology, internet specifically, and then also in some of these co-working spaces. And people confuse niche. They think about, it's the way that it looks. You'll see some that are have a more industrial feel to them, or some that are cozy or whatever. But niche is about, you guys focused on a category that needs a specific help.
Yes.
And so did you stumble into that, or was that something that you just knew was there?
So you've got the real estate industry, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have the submarket of the co-working.
Right.
And any successful industry, these niches are going to come out.
Yes.
And people are going to seek those. And we've got so much information and resources that come to us that we can really be targeted. Mm-hmm. You don't do a broad Google search, you get real specific.
Right.
You get the results you need, and you start utilizing them immediately. Mm-hmm. So because of my experience in the industry, I really saw how women interacted and participated. And even with my employees, I could see the difference. If we were in a sales meeting and it was mostly men, then some of the female, GMs wouldn't speak up. So I saw this as an opportunity to seek out people, and to help the women network. My job, even now with the co-working center, is to find business for my community.
Right.
And that's what I did. And I
Yeah.
found that the women were eager to collaborate, to help, to mentor, even if there wasn't an immediate financial reward.
Right.
And that really fostered a network and a community, within that center. So even though we're one of two right now, this industry is booming. And I just recently attended a conference up in New York, just called Juicy, and it's co-working operators. And that's where I really started seeing the women involved. 50% of the women 50% of co-working locations are owned by women.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they are now seeing the benefit to specialize even more,
Yeah.
to their tribe and to their community.
Yeah. Well, and I've done these interviews. I've done over 1,000. I've interviewed over 1,000 people who've started businesses and are in that space. And what I found is that the problems are very niche. So
Yes.
like when I interview someone who's trying to start a restaurant, they have a very specific set of needs and they need to sit in rooms with other people who have restaurants,
Yep.
So if getting into those niches, thinking about how your business delivers that, we still have these kind of broad general categories. It's like the old television where there was ABC, CBS, and NBC.
Yep.
And now we have channels that are specifically Animal Planet, right? Like you like this.
Exactly.
So let's talk about this. And your business focusing that way is a really great way to be successful.
Yes.
Yeah. So talking about your background. So how has the stuff that you've done before helped this?
Well, I'll start and say that being in business now over 6 years, I don't think there's anything I haven't experienced, and that is both positive and negative. So I've been through 4 partnership splits.
Yeah.
I lost my largest customer and had to restart. I had to
Yeah.
rebrand my company. I had to redefine who I was as a woman and as an owner. I had to turn over my entire leadership team. And then in my corporate career, same thing, been through massive layoffs. So I think from my perspective, we bring that to the community.
Yeah.
And, when women are trying to launch their businesses, they're sometimes timid.
Yeah.
They're afraid to make mistakes. They're afraid to take risk. And I'm a risk taker. And so I bring that to the community. And I would say that that's one of the reasons why we have women that come to us and are willing to open up. They're like, well, if you've been through all of that,
Right.
I think I could do a few things.
Right. Well, and that willingness to open up. And that's the
Yeah.
thing I run into. And that can be a male thing too. When I'm talking to people about their businesses, they don't want to admit to me
Yeah.
that they don't know how to do something
Right.
or whatever. I'm like, just tell me.
Just be real.
Just come on.
Yeah.
Like, just if you don't tell me, I can't help you.
Exactly.
So show me what's going on. Don't tell me business is great or that you really understand your books because you probably don't.
Exactly.
And so then your background, I mean, you've got a great background for just even how these kind of organizations run because there's, getting into these kind of things, you need to have some experience having, because it's a real estate play as much as anything, isn't it?
It is. It's a real estate play and technology
Yeah.
as well. So I think what I bring to the table with Kimberly and our partnership is I know what works
Yeah.
and I know what doesn't. I know how good companies operate and I know how bad companies operate. So we definitely, have the best of every experience. I have a training background as well, so I understand how adults learn.
Yeah.
I understand how to present that information. I know how to write documentation and deliver programs that are going to be meaningful, for our community. And like Kimberly, I've been knocked down, got back up, and it's been my group and my network that's given me a safe place to ask for help.
Right.
And that's one of the hardest things I think for women to do is to say, I can't do it all by myself, and I need some help.
I need some help. So getting this off the ground,
Yes.
was it just, you just carved the space out and you were good to go? Or what are the types of things you had to?
Well, I said to you earlier, everything's really happened organically. And once we decided to open up the center, the next thing that happened is we met a woman named Kathy Hood. She's the founder and CEO of a nonprofit called Women University.
Okay.
It's a program that's been around for quite some time. They've graduated over 100 women, and it's set to enable a woman to identify her gifts, her passions, and takes her through a 12-week course where it really holds her accountable to the next steps. And not in every instance are we talking about launching businesses, but in many cases we are.
Yeah.
But if they're not launching businesses, they're making career decisions that will help them have the life that they desire. And so we decided to collaborate with Kathy. They're in South Fulton County. And so partnering with her allowed us to take her program and expand it to North Fulton, which is awesome. And we launched the inaugural class just a week and a half ago.
Okay.
So that was like a great decision because it automatically tied us to another community that was looking to do similar things that we're doing.
Yeah. And so in that transition, and kind of following this path, because I sold my business in 2012 and I had 15,000 square feet and all this other kind of stuff. And so immediately needed to figure out where am I going to work, right? I mean, I can work out of the house so much, but you got to meet clients somewhere. So ended up in co-working spaces. And I've run into people in those co-working spaces where they've maybe been laid off or they've decided to leave their career and now they're just hanging out, right? Like they're like, I don't know where else to go, so I'm going to go to the co-working space. It sounds like a program like that might help them find their way.
Tremendously,
right?
yes. Yep.
Because not everybody, I've been an entrepreneur. So I was like, okay, I sold my business. I'm going to go start something else. Other people end up, I got transitioned out. I need somewhere to hang out.
Right.
Now what do I do?
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So that helps them identify like what that next step might be.
Yes.
That's an awesome program.
It is. It's phenomenal.
You know, Eric, we had a young lady come by our open house. We have an open house every other week on Tuesdays and on Saturdays. And we had a lady come by who is still in a corporate environment, has a great job, just feels unfulfilled.
Yeah.
And knows that she's supposed to be doing something else, but she doesn't know what it is.
Right.
So, you know, it could be that they were phased out, you know, they were looking for a job, or now they're looking for that opportunity. And that was amazing when she came in. She's like, I just want to be part of your group so I can help explore what my passions are and where I should be going.
Yeah. Yeah. Because what I'll see in those transitional periods too is someone will come in and they think maybe they're going to go do their own thing, but they end up potentially taking a job or going somewhere else. They just need a place to live for a period of time, right? Like there's like this transitional, and then those transitions, that's where we get the most lost.
Right.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So future for you guys.
Well, this is one of what we're going to consider to be a story that ends up with hopefully a license program eventually where we can help women launch centers as well.
Yeah.
So our goal is to prove out the model, build our community, build out the different workshops and training seminars, and of course the collaboration with Women University, take that to the next level. And then from there, seek investors to help us continue to build this.
Yeah. And you're thinking licensing. So
Yes.
yeah. And that's nice because that puts somebody else, again, I like your concept is always like, how do I put somebody else in business?
Yes, exactly.
Right? So how do I make them kind of self-sufficient? And in that co-working space, I mean, going more to niche, because I've been concerned there's so many spaces coming online. And so it's either that we're transitioning out of traditional office space in general, or that we're getting a glutton of that. But if you go into those niches, that's a good way to differentiate yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And do what you know. And obviously we know women, so it makes sense to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so what are some of the challenges to that next step that you think are out there?
I would say that the first thing is making sure we're building the right community. We're really careful about the type of women that become part of our center and our community, because it really is about not only having women join the community, but the right women. Because we're not it's not a one size fits all type of scenario. We actually use an assessment process for the women that are coming through. And number one, that helps identify their skill sets, etc. And number two, that enables us to understand what they're all about. And then, as Susan mentioned a little earlier, mentoring is a huge component of what we're doing. And so that enables us to match up mentees and mentors as well. So just building the community the right way, and then from there taking that best practice and being able to execute it the next time. And our goal is to open up our next center within 6 months.
Oh wow, that's aggressive, Susan.
Yeah.
I haven't shown it to you yet, but I drew out the floor plan for our next location.
There you go.
It literally is in my briefcase.
Okay. All right.
That's how people like you. I love picking and building space. It's just it's a sick little thing that I like to do. So
I knew I liked you.
One of my clients is in the middle of they need to pick space, and I'm like, I want to do that project for you.
Well, and one thing I forgot to say is Susan's the one that found my center to begin with.
Oh wow.
So so she's been involved in this even before she was involved in it.
Okay. Yeah, and so you were renting sort of from her.
And and when she left the industry and I was looking for a space because of her background, she's like, well, let me help you. And she found the perfect center. I mean, at that point, we didn't know it was going to be a co-working center, but it's phenomenal.
Yeah. And so as you guys, because, people connecting, certainly they can connect into your resources. What are some other places or ways that things that have helped you connect along your careers? Like is there a group here in Atlanta that you could talk about whatever that you think has been a great group for you?
I would say that there's been several organizations, but on the co-working side, one of the things that's been really helpful for us is partnering with ACE. Because we're in Peachtree Corners, we're very close to their Norcross Women's Center.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
And so as soon as we launched, we contacted them and said, hey, will you come visit the center? How can we partner together? And they've just been so supportive. They've offered to hold workshops there. They're inviting us to participate in their events as well. And of course, that's what led us to you today. So that has been tremendously helpful. In addition to that, there's several other organizations that Susan and I belong to that, again, have been supportive in bringing women towards us. I would say that probably one of the organizations that I'm most involved in is the Alpharetta Chamber. Yeah. And so my goal is to help poise what we're doing to launch a women-centric part of the chamber as well. So for the chamber members that are listening, watch out.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I've done the speed coachings for ACE, which is a great way to, those little 20-minute, I love those. Those are fun. So, well, I wish you both the greatest luck, and I'll have to come out and see this space.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So, so you've been listening to ACE's Best Story. I've been talking with Kimberly Graver and Susan Smith. They're founders of eTransform Co-working Space, which is specifically for women. So if you are looking to launch your own thing and you want to tap into some resources and kind of figure out what's the next thing, that's a place for you to connect. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week for another story.